Look, we all know John C. Maxwell's 21 Laws of Leadership is a total masterclass, right? But let's be real, it's also a big read. So what if you could get the absolute core wisdom in just a few minutes? Well, that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're boiling down decades of insight into a clear, actionable journey. Let's dive in.
Right out of the gate, Maxwell just completely flips the script on what most people think leadership is. It's not about you climbing the ladder. It's about you building a ladder for other people to climb right alongside you. This one idea, that leadership is all about service, is the foundation for everything else we're about to talk about. It's about adding value, not just chasing status.
Okay, so we've broken this down into a four-part journey. First, we're going to look at what makes a leader tick on the inside, then how they actually influence others. After that, we'll talk about how they build momentum and, win. And finally, we'll get to the big one, what it all adds up to, their legacy.
So where does great leadership even begin? According to Maxwell, it starts with you. This first section is all about building that foundation, your character, your personal capacity. Because before you can even think about leading anyone else, you've got to be able to lead yourself.
This is the very first law, and honestly, it might be the most important. Just think about a lid on a jar, right? It doesn't matter how big or amazing that jar is, you can only fill it up to the level of the lid. Maxwell says your leadership ability is that lid. It puts an absolute ceiling on your success and the success of your whole team. So, the only way to make a bigger impact, you've got to raise your lid.
So let's get real for a second. What's your lid? Take a quick, honest look. On a scale from 1 to 10, how would you rate your people skills? What about your strategic planning, your vision, your actual track record of getting things done? Maxwell says you should do this yourself, and then, if you're feeling brave, ask a few trusted colleagues to rate you too. That little gap between your score and theirs, that's your first big opportunity for growth.
Okay, so if your ability is the lid, then trust is the solid ground you're standing on. And without it, the whole thing just falls apart. These three things are the pillars of that foundation. It's not complicated, but man, it is not easy. It takes hardcore integrity, being genuinely yourself with everyone, and the discipline to do the right thing, especially when it's tough. So once that foundation is in place, we can move on to part 2, the framework for influence. This is all about taking that internal character and using it to actually connect with and empower the people all around you.
Here's a core truth from Maxwell. Leadership is influence, period. It's not your job title, it's not your corner office, it's influence. And connection is the key that unlocks all of it. I mean, you could have the most world-changing vision ever, but if you can't connect with people and share it, it just stays locked in your head, totally useless to everybody.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. This slide shows a fundamental disconnect. As the leader, you are obsessed with the vision. It's your whole world. But your people, they're looking at you. They buy into the leader first, and only then do they even consider buying into the vision. If they don't trust the messenger, they will never, ever trust the message.
I love this Teddy Roosevelt quote because it just nails two laws at once, the law of the inner circle and the law of empowerment. It's a simple two-step dance. Step 1, find great people. Step 2, and this is the really hard part, have the self-control to just get out of their way. Because real leaders don't create followers, they develop more leaders.
All right, let's switch gears and jump into part 3, the fuel for victory. We've got the foundation, we've got the framework, so now how do we get this thing moving? This part is all about creating momentum, sparking growth, and getting real results.
Leadership growth isn't something that just happens overnight. It is a process. And Maxwell breaks it down into these 5 phases. We all start at phase 1, where we're just clueless. We don't even know what we're missing. The big shift happens in phase 2, when we finally realize, whoa, I need to learn. From there, it's a journey of figuring out your gaps, growing, and eventually leadership just becomes second nature. It's just who you are. The key is to remember it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Have you ever had one of those days or weeks where you just feel like you can't lose? That's Big Mo, momentum. Maxwell calls it a leader's best friend because it's like a superpower. Small wins start stacking up, problems kind of solve themselves, and everything just feels easier. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. It starts small, but once it gets going, it becomes this massive, unstoppable force.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most profound section, the leader's lasting legacy. This is the why. This is the reason behind all the other laws. What is the whole point of all this work?
This is the question that all the other laws are really pointing to. It's not about what you accomplish this quarter or even in your career. It's about what continues long after you're gone. It forces you to think way beyond today's to-do list.
So how do you actually build a legacy on purpose? Well, Maxwell gives us two really clear steps. First, you have to know what you stand for, your core values, your unique gifts. That defines the legacy you want to leave. Second, and this is so crucial, you have to intentionally pour into the people who will carry that legacy forward. Ideally, people who can one day stand on your shoulders and take it even further.
And that's our final takeaway. A leader's true value is ultimately measured by succession. So the real challenge from all these laws isn't just to be a great leader today. It's to consciously decide what you're going to leave behind for tomorrow. What story are you going to leave?